Dumb. Cool.
Weird.
Podcast. The Power Rangers movie.
God, that was such a long time ago.
Yeah, so me and Nick were strolling on Tubi, and apparently it was leaving in 2 days. So we were like, what the fuck? Let's do it.
Let's send it.
So,
And you know what? Here we are. We're at the Power Rangers movie. Ivan Ooze, Lord Zedd's a little cuck, and let's just say Zordon and Ivan Ooze probably had a weird sexual orgy with that green lady in Britain.
Yep. Yeah, apparently it went to another planet, and the planet is entirely inhabited by British people.
Yes, like that skeleton with the really fucked up teeth.
And the horns, because that's how British people look.
Yeah, they're just creatures.
So basically how this movie starts out is, you have
Power Rangers.
You get the Power Rangers, and they're jumping out of an airplane.
Doing extreme sports, because, that's what I remember the Power Rangers doing the most, was extreme sports.
Yep, always doing their extreme sports.
And for some reason, I never understood why they always kept Bulk and Skull around, and I think it had something to do with comedic effect.
Yep, they were friends with him, but they weren't friends with him. It was like a love-hate relationship, I think.
Because Bulk and Skull had this weird thing where they would always find the bad guy stuff before the Rangers did, and allude them to it.
Yep, pretty much. So what ends up happening is they jump out of the plane, they land on the X marks the spot. The kid yells at his dad and says, "Why couldn't you land there?" And he's like, "You're a fucking disgrace." And the dad's like, "Well, I landed pretty close by." It's like, "You landed in a parking lot."
Yeah, really shitting on his dad there, really having this weird love for Tommy. By the way, these are teenagers and they look like they're 30. So I mentioned this, but not 1990s 30, so they were still good looking.
Yeah, they still looked younger than Bulk and Skull. Bulk and Skull looked like they were in their early 40s.
Yeah, no, Bulk and Skull looked like they were in a midlife crisis.
Yep, so they were doing the thing. So Bulk and Skull, they jump out of the airplane and they land
Right in the construction site.
Right in the construction site. And the construction people, as Nick pointed out, found a opening or just a closed
Just
lid.
this closed lid in the ground that had, strange symbols on them, and no one said, you know what, let's not fuck with this.
Nope, they decided to open it.
You see, that's what happens when you have no Mexican guys working on the construction site.
Yep, because apparently, according to Nick, even though it's supposed to be California, Angel Grove, California, it's actually in Toronto.
Yeah. Oh God, it's such a generic and stupid city.
So they open up they grab the crane, they pull out the fucking top of the fucking hatch of the whatever was locked down there, and a giant egg
With a hand
on it comes out, and they try to touch it, and it electrocutes them with purple electricity, and then they're like, "Oh, well, shit, let's leave some guards." So
Two sleepy police officers.
Yep. So, sleeping cartoon sheriffs, apparently.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, the next, towards the night, Lord Zedd and his chick Rita show up with their two henchmen, and they're like, "Oh, let's break open this egg." And then Zedd's like, "Oh, I've been looking for this egg for a long time,
2,000 years."
Yep. And so they show up, and instead of killing the two guards, they put them to sleep.
Because they are evil, but they're not that evil.
Yep. So they put them to sleep. They open up the egg, and the Rita's like, "Oh, you waited 2,000 years to open up some fucking goo." And he's like, "Wait, you idiot." And then then the main man of the whole. So this is the guy that we like for the entire movie because he's got the best dialogue.
He's
Ivan
got
Ooze
the only dialogue that matters.
Yep. And so Ivan Ooze shows up, played by a really famous British actor who's classically trained, which I think is so fucking hilarious.
That was probably the end of his career, and he was like, "Yeah, you know what? Let's do this Power Rangers movie."
Yeah, we'll let the kids be happy. So they end up doing the movie. He ends up doing the movie. And so when his part comes up, basically he starts hitting on Rita. Rita hits on him. Zedd gets pissed. Zedd looks pissed. Zedd's like, "Just do what you're going to do." And then him and his crew leaves. And then, Ivan Ooze sniffs around and goes, "Teenagers."
All I can think of is, man, Ivan Ooze must have been part of the Catholic Church.
Yep, pretty much. And so what ends up happening is, before this, Zordon kind of warns the Power Rangers that there's an ancient evil under the ground,
Yeah, he gets there kind of late. He never really gives specifics of where anything is. He just kind of tells them, and he's like, "It's got to be somewhere."
So they show up, and basically Ivan creates he doesn't create them at first. First, what he does is he approaches the Rangers as one of the sleepy. Yeah, one of the sleepy cops. And they're like, "Oh, we're looking for some kind of ancient crazy being." And he's like, "Or ancient crazy being was it kind of like
shapeshift? It was like a shape-shifting ooze creature.
yeah, something like that." And then he's just like, "Oh, shape was it kind of like this?" And then he like transforms into him.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of like, and then they have like some banter, and it's really funny. He's like, "Where's my autograph book?"
We're different. We're the Power Rangers. Oh, the Power Rangers. Where's my autograph book?
Yep. And so they basically start like they exchanging insults, and he's like, "I'm tired of this." And then he just creates like a bunch of clones of
Goons.
him. Yeah, goons that look kind of like him. And then he's like, I got a fucking schedule to keep." And then he disappears.
And goes fucks up Zordon.
Yeah, he goes and fucks up Zordon. So basically, while they're fighting, he goes over to Zordon's place, fucks up Zordon, and then he like throws out some of the funniest puns. He's just like, shut your fucking trap, basically. And then he walks around and he's
like, you took my youth away. you took me out of my prime. I missed important events like the
Spanish Inquisition,
the Brady Bunch reunion.
Yeah, he's fucking pissed about that.
He's like, I missed some great times.
Yep. He is not happy about that. So then what ends up happening is after he destroys everything, the Power Rangers eventually transform, they beat the goons, and then after they beat the goons, they lose their powers.
Which, let's go back real quick. When they were morphing, the funniest shit was that the goons ran away. They're like, yeah, we're just bored with this.
Yep, they run away. Then they go on a search for him, and then, the one girl has, headlights, and then the other guy has, an advanced fucking sensor where he can sense where things are.
It's like, why didn't you start off with that?
They're stupid.
Well, clearly, they're teenagers.
Well, they're teenagers. They're idiots. So they end up fighting them. They beat them, and after they beat them, their powers disappear, and they're like, oh, what's going on? And then they get zapped back to Zordon's place, and Zordon is, in a pile of glass inside of his, tube.
Yeah.
And then... the gay robot's like,
Alpha was literally the most useless robot you could have ever had as an assistant.
Yep, pretty much. And so what ends up happening is Zordon's like, I know of a place that you can go to get other Zords. And then Alpha's like, I think we have enough power to send you there. And then they're like, okay. And then they send
But you can't come back.
But you can't come back, no. So they send them to another planet, God knows how far away from Earth.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie is, I swear to God, it's just them on the planet doing something.
And Ivan Ooze, selling ooze.
Yeah, selling ooze. Basically, he's like, this shit's for the fucking birds. He makes birds. He sends the birds to the fucking planet where they're at.
What I love is that he's like, yeah, I need workers. And he's like, man, these parents suck.
Yep.
He's just bored, sitting around, watching them dig up his robotic monstrosities.
Yeah, basically what he does is he creates this ooze that has mind control properties for the adults, but it doesn't affect the kids. So he sends the ooze home for the kids. And then, the dad for the main character kid with the backwards cap, because, he's the cool kid because it's the 90s. He's the 90s. And when he shows up, he's listening to this whack-ass 90s song that me and Nick can't even identify.
Nope.
And then he comes out, touches the ooze, and then it, brainwashes
He took
him.
a whole fucking scoop of that shit.
Yep.
He was he dug, he's not even mysterious. He just dug his fingers into that thing. He was scooping out some booty juice.
Yep. And then what ends up happening, though, is the parents come to work for Ooze, and then we cut back to the Power Rangers. They're fighting the fucking Tango Warriors, who are the fucking the flying warriors,
Bird people.
The bird people are whipping their asses, and then all of a sudden the hot British chick shows up, swings her little bandana things, and her boobs are bouncing up and katans, and her boobs are bouncing up and down, and then she's scares away the birds for some fucking reason,
and then she beats up Tommy,
and then she beats up Tommy, and then I think she whips the fucking black girl's ass too.
It was very unclear.
Yeah. And then she's like, you're not worthy. And she's like, wait a minute, Zordon sent you? Oh.
I guess.
I guess I got to help you now. And so she helps them. And while she's helping them, Ooze is sitting there drinking out of his cup of fucking smoky margarita. And he's I'm bored. He's bored waiting for these fucking parents to dig up their fucking robots. And then the Goldar is kind of egging him on, the fucking flying creature thing, and then he's just makes them dance, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere they discuss the flying creatures come back, the Tengu warriors come back, and they're like, oh, we
almost killed him.
We almost killed him. And he's like, what? You didn't kill him? And he's like, no, we didn't. And he's like, you want us to take another whack at it? He's like, how about you take another quack at it? And he fucking kills them,
zaps them, and they explode.
And then Feathers hits his face, and he goes, well, maybe the elements will get them over on the planet.
it's like no, Ivan Ooze is like one of those guys. Like, well, you know what? We'll figure it out when it gets here. You know, we gotta dig up these fucking robots already.
Yep. So what ends up happening is the Power Rangers basically find their Vision Quest and they find their animal counterparts.
Yep.
They go into like a bone graveyard. They fight these dinosaurs that are like
just
animated.
The one dinosaur.
Yeah, the one dinosaur that's animated. Tommy pulls the bone out and destroys the dinosaur, which is fun.
That was like
Yep.
It's like he found the one thing holding it together somehow.
Yep. And then they show up to where the entrance to like how they get their powers back is, and then they fight these like rock creatures that look like Alf from the TV show Alf.
I'm gonna live with you and make your life annoying. Where's your cat? I'm gonna eat it.
Yep. And basically these creatures fight them. They're like rock Alf creatures, and they pretty much fucking like trick the fuck out of them because they're fucking stupid. So they really are like Alf. Alf's kind of dumb.
I mean, they put one in water and it died.
Yep. So after they destroy all these fucking rock creatures, which by the way, Tommy does this like thing called a screw, like
flying screw kick,
corkscrew kick. Yep, and it's fucking stupid. And he like hits the creature, hits the wall, and explodes. They get their powers back. They fly back, and before they fly back at this time, Ivan has already fucking told he's already like taken over the factory. He's basically me and Nick were like, well, how the hell did he take over this factory anyway? Like, did nobody own this factory? It doesn't even matter at this point. He's got Ooze running through this factory. He's got the workers working. He's got the machines
getting a solid plan, unlike Zedd.
Zedd's always fucking stupid.
Zedd was like this warlord creature thing, and he can't even put one fucking plan together. Ooze is on the planet for 72 hours, and he's already got, like, almost everything he needs.
Yep. He got the entire population enslaved. He's like, of the area that he's in, he's doing everything he needs to do. And he's already pumped up his machines full of the ooze, and then, like, basically he just stops production and says, well,
time to go kill yourselves.
Time to go kill yourselves. Leap to your doom over there in the, the place where, the rock quarry where I found you, like, where we're working. And then they all like
stretch site and leap.
Yep, and just leap to your doom, and they leave, and
they keep saying it too. They're like,
leap to your doom. And basically, what ends up happening is, he seeks the robots on downtown Angel Grove. They don't destroy buildings, but they destroy cars and
just a lot of cars.
Like there's debris everywhere, but the buildings are still there. Probably like a budget thing. But anyway, what ends up happening, though, is the Power Rangers show back up. They get into their new Zords, and they start fighting the monsters. And then we cut back to the kids who are, like, having a big fucking party, even though, like, it shows that it's 7-Up because it was probably, like, product placement. Yeah. But really, they were drinking alcohol, and they were, like, covered in the ooze. Like Nick was like, they're drinking the ooze.
Yeah, they were eating and drinking that shit.
Yep. And then the kid shows up and says, hey, we need to save our parents. And they're like, no, it's not fun. It's like, but they're going to die. And they're like,
oh, yeah, you're right.
You're right. So then I
don't know how to make dinner.
Yeah, so then they all kind of get together to go save their parents. And while they're going to do that, the Power Rangers end up suiting up to
having a boss fight.
Yeah, having a boss fight because they destroyed one of the monsters. And Ooze is like looks at Goldar and goes, "If you touch me again,
I'll turn you into chicken wings by Monday."
Oh yeah, that's right. That is what he said.
He touches him. He just fucking touches him. Like, talk about a temper, but like. You could back it up, like, because even Goldar wasn't that afraid of Zedd.
Yeah, that's very true. So, what ends up happening is Ooze gets really pissed off, and he merges with the giant praying mantis-looking, like, upward walking hornet thingy, and then he becomes like this creature, and then they all kind of merge together, and then Tommy's like, wait, I can sense that the kids are riding on the monorail, so let me go save them real quick. And as the kids are riding on the monorail trying to get to save their parents, he literally sticks the White Falcon thing underneath them, and they pass over it safely.
Derailed it.
Yeah, it would have derailed it easily, but, it's just a movie.
Movies.
So they end up, like, fighting with a sword. Somehow Ooze destroys the sword with, like, a piece of a tower. Space Needle, because Goldar, like, flies away because he's scared. And After the sword is destroyed, Ooze knocks the Zord on the ground, and then Tommy mounts on the Zord, and they fly up into space. And
all of a sudden, everything's better. They were getting their ass kicked the whole time that they were fighting Ivan. It wasn't just a little bit of an ass kicking. He was really serving them a hard ass kicking.
Yep.
Like the whole fight. Like they lost their energy sword, and then even out the odds, Ivan just drops his like tower weapon thing that he had because he tore a tower out of the ground.
You can run, but you can't hide. And and then he grows fucking wings and flies up into space too. And then after that, we get we cut back to the kids, and the kids are spraying their parents with water because Bulk and Skull decided to step it up and turn on the water pressure. And they're trying to stop their kids. And Nick was like, oh, before the water comes on, Nick was like, oh, look how strong those 90s kids are. They're pushing back their parents.
Yeah, but those 90s but those Gen X parents were a lot stronger, so they're pushing them back. So then he turns on the water, he's spraying them back, and while he's spraying them back, they're fighting. And then you see Rita and Lord Zedd and their little by the way, they're in the snow globe because that's what Ivan Ooze did. He turned them into a snow globe, and they're all they had to do was take a vacation.
Yep. And then they're looking at him, and they're like, oh, look, it's that fucking asshole. And they're like, let's go, Rangers, go.
Okay, to go back all the way though, when Ivan Ooze was getting roasted the second he showed up, and Rita was starting to talk serious shit, and he closed her mouth. The funniest thing was when Zedd was like, "Yes, finally, someone shut her up."
Yep. And then Ivan Ooze is like, "Well, I need to pick a leader, and I elect me." And Zedd's like, "Oh, I don't agree with that." And he zaps him, and then he goes, "Ooh, that tickles. Let me do it now." And he
turns him into a snow globe.
Turns him into a snow globe. And so they're fighting in space, and while they're fighting in space,
the only reason they won was because they pulled out the emergency measure, and that was to knee a monster in the balls.
In the balls.
They're this is the only kaiju we've ever had to use this on.
Yep, and they knee him in the balls and knock him into a comet, and then he fucking explodes. And when he explodes, the parents come back to their senses. The day is saved. The Power Rangers come back. They play a fucking song by
Led Zeppelin.
No, it's not Led Zeppelin. It's Van Halen. They play.
Yeah, that's right.
They play a Van Halen song. Kimberly and Tommy don't kiss because I guess they're just really good friends.
But even though the sexual tension is way too high.
Oh, but before that, they save Zordon with the power of love.
Yeah. Fuck Zordon.
Yes, fuck Zordon. And Alpha can just fuck off too.
You know what? I bet that whole time that Zordon was not able to tune everything out and he had to rely on him, he was like, I really wish I fucking killed this robot.
Yep. And that was Power Rangers the movie. It's fun. It's got a lot of really cheesy dialogue. The best dialogue's from Ivan. Some of the dialogue from the Power Rangers is pretty funny. Like the scene where the Pink Ranger gets into her Zord. She's like, ooh, I got a fucking stereo. It's like, oh, that's kind of funny, but chill, bitch. You know?
It's the 90s.
Yeah. So, there was a lot of different moments. And then Billy's supposed to be the smart one. So he's like, oh, we need to run Ivan into the comet, and they can't call it Haley's Comet. I think they called it something else because
some comet.
Yeah, something comet. And then so, it's your typical 90s movie, 1997, so it's your, 90s kids movie. So Nick, let's talk about this for a second.
Let's separate this in the dumb, cool, and the weird.
Yeah, so what was dumb about this movie?
Well, first off, the dumbest fucking thing about this movie is the fact that Zordon didn't even have a contingency plan to keep somebody out of his fucking lair.
Yeah, I thought that was really dumb.
I mean, not to mention, it's dumb that the Rangers are pretty much it's like Ivan Ooze when he made that point. He's like, yeah, Zordon's got kids doing his dirty work again. It's like,
yep.
It's like it's so dumb to think about, but you're like, oh my god, yeah, that's right. Zordon just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, Zordon supposedly has all this power, and he doesn't do anything with it. He just relies on a bunch of teenagers with attitude to do everything.
Yeah,
because remember that was in the original 90s cartoon.
Yeah,
go get teenagers with attitude. That is really fucking dumb.
What's funny is that was a meme too, though, is where they're like, go get some teenagers with attitude, and it pulls up, and at the next panel it's NWA.
Yeah. I saw that earlier today. But that was the dumbest thing about this whole thing is Zordon did not have a backup plan for this. He did not really
nothing.
But he should have known,
It's funny, he doesn't try to tell the Rangers ahead of schedule, like while they're in the construction site, hey, do something about this thing.
Yeah, pretty much. And then what was cool about this?
What was cool about it was like that nostalgia of going back to your like childhood memories, but it's the appreciation for Ivan Ooze's dialogue.
Well, I was going to say, the coolest thing about this movie for me was Ivan Ooze, because Ivan Ooze had some of the best dialogue, and maybe it was because he was the best actor on the whole set.
Well, that's what I just said, is like
classically trained,
He was the only one with lines that were memorable, and you didn't appreciate it when you're a kid because you're not thinking about like what he's saying.
Yeah, because he's funny. And that was the coolest part about this whole movie, is just Ivan Ooze was a funny villain. He was hilarious. He wasn't one or two dimensional. He was a very three-dimensional character. He was fucking hilarious.
He had a lot of range for a guy who just got out of an egg, and he's been plotting this for a while. Took Zedd every failed plan he can think of, and Ivan like literally has this city under his control within 72 hours.
Yep, fucking genius. And that is what's cool about this movie is fucking Ivan fucking Ooze.
Yeah, no, that's the weird part about this movie. That's a real question.
I think the weird part about this movie was the fact that where is the fucking parents of these Power Rangers?
Yeah, they don't ever wonder where.
No, it's weird, right?
Yeah, they never show up. You don't know why. Like you're like, why is it that no one ever wonders what all these like grown ass teenagers?
Well,
are
you know what else is weird about this movie? How do they not know it's them that are the Power Rangers? Because obviously they're missing for long periods of time.
Actually, let's be honest. What the weirdest part is that, this town has had so many monster attacks, like so many like kaiju just rolling around in here, fucking shit up. And not once has the military been like, maybe we should have like a contingency plan for this.
Yeah, that's weird too, isn't it?
It's like, you just got a bunch of bigwigs, in the Pentagon going like, yeah, this small town out in California just keeps getting fucked up by monsters. Yeah, so what should we do? Nothing. Now let's just let the Power Rangers handle it. But what if they fail? Yeah, I guess it's gone. It's California.
Yeah, that's the weirdest part about it. The weirdest part is, where is the parents? Where is the military?
Yeah, like there's no other authority figure other than the Power Rangers in this town. Like at least in one of the series of the Power Rangers, it was like the future one.
Mm-hmm.
Like where they came back. They were like time cops from the future, and they came back to the past to like get that one like super criminal.
Yeah,
like the cops actually tried to do stuff. Or the one where it was like the guy like had that secret underwater lair where he gave the Power Rangers like superpowers, and all they were just like EMTs, cops, and like firefighters.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Like those are the only ones where the people in charge were actually like everyone else was like, yeah, we're not just gonna let the Power Rangers handle this one.
Fucking ridiculous.
Fucking Power Rangers.
So. The dumb,
yep,
the cool, and the weird. So now you understand like what we think is dumb, cool, and weird about this fucking thing.
We're redoing it.
Yep.
We're doing it all.
Yep, we're redoing it all. Just so you know. And so, would you want to watch this? Yes. I think you should watch this fucking movie. It's a Power Rangers movie. It's the first one of its kind. They made more Power Rangers movies after this, but it wasn't in theaters like this. This one was like a big theatrical release.
This I think, was the only one in theaters besides the newest one.
Yeah, that remake they did. Yeah,
and I heard that was terrible.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. We don't talk about that one.
We only focus on movies from 1900 to.
So does the Dumb Cool Weird podcast recommend the Power Rangers movie? Yes.
Absolutely. Watch it.
Watch it.
It's fun.
Absolutely.
Watch it for Ivan Ooze's dialogue alone if you have to.
Yep. Just you can't watch it on Tubi because it's gone now.
It's gone.
They just took it off, so you have to find it somewhere else. But rent it, watch it, check it out. And Nick, you want to sign us off?
Yeah, stay sexy, beautiful people.
Yeah, and check out our website with all our merch and shit, and leave us a comment and do all that other crazy stuff that we love with, checking the bell to make sure you get notified about our fucking podcast that comes out every week. So
it's going to come out every week.
All right. Thanks for checking out the Dumb Cool Weird podcast. We're a movie podcast now, so Movie Monday is every Monday about crappy movies from the 20th century. It's going to be great, folks. I can't wait to show y'all.